All right, section 13.4 is evaluating inverse trig functions. And let me just give you a little insight on what inverse trig functions is. So if you had a triangle and I wanted you to figure out what theta is, and I gave you these two sides, you know that from theta I know the adjacent and the opposite side, which would be a cosine. So I could say, well, cosine of theta has to equal 2/5. How do I figure out what theta is? That's what an inverse trig function will do to you. So what is the value of that angle that's going to make the cosine equal 2/5? So notation is a little -1, so that means inverse cosine, and I'm going to inverse 2/5, whatever it equals, right, to see what my angle is. And you did this in geometry, so making sure that your theta is in whatever it's supposed to be in this case probably degree mode, you do inverse cosine of 2/5 and you're going to get that angle. Okay, now on your calculator, the inverse sine, cosine, and tangent are right above your sine, cosine, tangent buttons, and it has this little symbol, so you should be able to find that. So you're going to be asked to evaluate various inverse functions that are on your unit circle or pieces of your special right triangles. So you wouldn't use your calculator for these. Okay, so for example, here it's saying sine of theta equals 1/2. So in other words, you're saying what angle has a sine value of 1/2. Okay, now I know you probably can't see this unit circle, and that's fine because you should have your own copy. I'm just going to reference it. So where is sine? Remember, sine is equivalent to y. So where's my y coordinate? Equal to 1/2 is what I'm asking myself, right? So if I go around my unit circle, and again, I know you can't see my unit circle very well, but sine is equal to 1/2 at 30 degrees, but it's also equal at 150 degrees. So can I write down two answers? Well, I suppose I could, but to avoid the two answer confusion, they restrict you for the sine. Okay, so eventually, and I'm going to talk about this in a second, we are going to disregard the second quadrant answer. Nowhere else in my unit circle is sine equal to 1/2 because down in the third and fourth quadrant sine is negative, right? So the rules for sine, okay, so I'm just going to highlight this. Inverse sine can only occur in the first and the fourth quadrant. And I would just get comfortable with this drawing over here. All this notation might be kind of hairy, I don't know. So theta has to be greater than or equal to -90 but less than or equal to +90. So greater than -90 but less than +90. So in this region, or in between negative pi halves and positive pi halves, right, in radians. So if I have an angle in the second quadrant with an inverse sine, not gonna happen, okay? Not in the third quadrant either. Okay, inverse cosine, I'm going to kind of breeze through this. Inverse cosine can only occur between 0 and 180, so that's in the first or second quadrant. And inverse tangent can only occur, again, in the first or fourth quadrants. Okay, so just like sine, inverse tangent and inverse sine have the same restrictions. Okay, so what are you going to be doing? You're going to ask yourself, where's the sine, where's inverse sine, the square root of 3 over 2? Okay, so remind yourself first that sine is y, and then right away think about your restrictions. Okay, so sine is restricted to quadrants 1 and 4. So I'm going to highlight that over on my unit circle. Okay, and then I know it's positive, so it can't be in the fourth quadrant because the sine is not positive there. Okay, so I can eliminate that possibility. So I know my answer is for sure in the first quadrant, and it's the y coordinate. So where is the y coordinate equal to the square root of 3 over 2? Well, I know that that happens at 60 degrees, and in radians that would be pi over 3. And what an easy question if you really have your unit circle down. Okay, what if you don't have your unit circle down? Well, then you're thinking of those special right triangles, okay? And you're thinking, well, it's got to have square root of 3's and 2's in it, so it's probably a 30, 60, 90, because the 45, 45, 90 is just square root of 2's and 2's, and no square root of 3's. So I'm just going to draw any old 30, 60, 90, it really does not matter, and then I'm going to fill in my ratios, so it's 1, 2, square root of 3, and I'm going to figure out where the sine is equal to the square root of 3 over 2. So if I start at 30 degrees, sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Well, that's 1/2, not what I want. If I go to 60, opposite over hypotenuse is the square root of 3 over 2, so I know that it's 60. And ta-da, I already knew that because I have my unit circle down. Part B says, where's the cosine equal to a negative 1/2? Okay, so I'm going to erase these old, oh, I can't erase these restrictions. That's okay. I'll use a different color. So where is cosine restricted to? Well, it's restricted to quadrants 1 and 2. But it's negative, and the cosine is x, so where is x negative? Well, it's only negative in the second quadrant, so I'm going to get rid of the first quadrant. So I know that I'm over here, and I know that I'm looking for an x-coordinate that has a negative 1/2 value, and that would be at 120 degrees. And if you want to use right triangle trig, again, it's, well, 1s and 2s, so I guess your it could be 45, 45, 90 or 30, 60, 90. So I'll just lay them both out and see what we run into. So again, this is 1, 2 square root of 3. So where is it? Well, I'm sorry, I'm in the second quadrant, so this would be negative. Assuming this is my origin, right? So the cosine of 60 degrees is opposite, or I'm sorry, adjacent over hypotenuse, so that'd be negative 1/2. Well, that's what I want. That's 60, so now I have to take this 60 degrees and find the angle in the second quadrant that has that same reference angle, and that, of course, you know, if I knew that that 60 right here had a cosine value of 1/2, then 120, which you can see is the same exact angle, 60 and 60, right, would have that value. So got it. All right, last but not least, we'll deal with some tangent here. So C says, where is the tangent equal to negative 1? Okay, so tangent is y over x, and it's restricted to the first or fourth quadrant. Okay, so first or fourth quadrant, but I know that it's negative. Well, y divided by x is not going to be negative in the first quadrant, but it will in the fourth, so I'm going to erase that. And now I know that I'm somewhere down here. Okay, so if you have your tangent values memorized, awesome. If not, tangent is y divided by x. So here, y divided by x would be negative 1/2 divided by the square root of 3 over 2. Okay, that really means multiply by the reciprocal. So I'm going to multiply by that reciprocal. And then I have negative 1 over the square root of 3, but I'll rationalize and get the square root of 3 over 3. And that's negative. So negative square root of 3 over 3 would be the tangent of 11 pi over 6. Well, that's not what I want. I want it to be negative 1. Here, this angle, if I take the y divided by the x, that'd be the negative square root of 2 over 2 divided by the square root of 2 over 2. That's obviously negative 1, and that's what I want. So I can stop, but I cannot cross over into the second and third quadrant to get to that 315 degree angle. So here is where it's really tricky, an easy thing to miss, but I, to get there, have to go in the negative direction. So I can go down this way, and that's a negative 45 degrees, or a negative pi over 4, right, in radians, because this and this are the same angle. So be real careful because it's easy to cross over. I call this no man's land over here. You cannot cross through no man's land to get to where you need to get. All right, the last one then is, where is the tangent equal to the square root of 3 over 3? Well, I kind of already did this work down here. So note here at 300 degrees it was equal to the negative square root of 3 over 3. Well, that means that at 30 degrees it would have to equal the positive square root of 3 over 3. And you can do the math, right, if you need to, or just memorize them. So, and again, tangent is y over x, and it can only be in the first or fourth quadrant, but since it's a positive, I know I'm in the first. And so that's going to be at my 30 degree angle, would have that tangent value, so that's 30 degrees, or pi over 6.